There is a small town tucked deep in the French countryside, a place most maps barely bother to mark. Its name is Saint-Rivaux, and for centuries it has been known not for its beauty, but for its silence. In the center of that quiet town stands an ancient stone church with a tall, narrow bell tower. The strange thing is, the bell has never rung. Not once. Not in war, not in celebration, not even during the Great Plague that swept through Europe. According to the locals, it was never meant to ring. The church was built in 1472, during a period of famine and political upheaval. Records from that time mention the construction of the bell tower, but curiously, there is no mention of the bell itself. No source states who cast it, who lifted it, or who paid for it. It simply appears in the town's history, fully formed and already hanging in the tower, as if it had always been there. In the late 1800s, an archivist from Paris named Etienne Morel traveled to Saint-Rivaux to study the church's mysterious origins. He was fascinated by the stories that the bell was cursed, that it had been sealed by monks under strict vows, and that opening the tower was forbidden under threat of excommunication. Of course, Morel dismissed these tales as superstition. He was a man of science, after all, and he believed that every mystery had an explanation. On the evening of August 3rd, 1889, he decided to enter the bell tower alone. The priest begged him not to. Villagers warned him that no one who entered after sunset remained the same. But Morel was determined. He carried only a lantern and his notebook as he pushed open the heavy wooden door at the base of the tower. Inside, the air was unnaturally cold. The stone steps spiraled upward into darkness, and with each step he took, his lantern flickered as if reacting to something unseen. About halfway up, Morel noticed that the walls were carved with Latin inscriptions, prayers, mornings, and names. Hundreds of names, etched with shaking hands. Names of people who had attempted to climb the tower before him. When he reached the top, he discovered that the bell was unlike any he had ever studied. It was enormous, made of a dark metal that reflected no light, even from his lantern. Strange symbols were etched around its base, symbols that did not belong to any known language. Morel approached it carefully, reaching out to touch the surface. But before his hand met the metal, the lantern extinguished itself. He later wrote that he felt a breath of cold wind circle him in the dark, though he was standing alone in a sealed room. The next morning, villagers found Morel outside the church, lying on the ground, unconscious. When he finally woke, he couldn't recall how he had escaped the tower. His notes were missing, and he refused to return to Paris. He stayed in Saint-Rivaux for the rest of his life, never speaking of what he saw. But the villagers noticed something strange. He avoided the church entirely, even when it held public gatherings. And every time the wind blew through the village, he would look toward the bell tower with fear in his eyes. In 1921, long after Morel's death, restoration workers attempted to enter the tower to inspect the bell. They found the staircase flooded with icy water, even though the weather was dry. The town sealed the entrance again, and no one has dared open it since. But the locals say that on certain nights, especially when storms gather over Saint-Rivaux, you can hear a low, deep vibration roll through the town, like the sound of a bell trying to ring from a great distance, a bell that should never ring. Some say it's a warning. Others believe it's something waking up after centuries of silence. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain. If you ever find yourself in Saint-Rivaux at night, don't look at the tower too long. And if you hear even the faintest chime carried on the wind, leave before the sound reaches you.